Okay, so now we're recording. It is Monday, 12/19 of 22. We are in customer relations management. I have Sierra, Sherry, Hannah, and Aubrey in class. It is great seeing you ladies. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate it. This is not really too bad of a class. Like I said, I think I already looked, and it was a couple of you guys, ladies, have already finished up the first week with like perfect scores, and so that's what it's all about. Now for Aubrey, just so everybody knows, this is Aubrey's next to the last class. She has this class, and then she has capstone, and then she graduates, so she's done.
Hannah too.
Oh, Hannah too. We're losing Hannah too. So this is.
I'm so excited.
I bet you ladies are. I got 2 more classes after this and then capstone, and I'm done.
You're so close.
So Sherry's almost done too. So that's awesome. So let's get you ladies through this with a really good score. This should, some classes are just harder than others. If you've made it through business math, you made it through business communications.
I don't want to talk about business math, Stephen. Not at all.
Can we talk about Bruno then? What are we doing here?
Business math was brutal.
It was. I always tell you guys, it could always be worse. I know, because when I was in finance and then when I was doing engineering, I took college algebra, then I took business calculus, and I took Calc 1, and I took college trig, then I took Calc 2. And there were many, many days I would go.
That you're speaking?
Yes, that was, no, I'm speaking Mandarin. A long story short is there would be many days I would go home and weep softly in my pillow, just hoping that, a comet would crash into my house or something and I wouldn't have to go back. So
that's kind of how I felt about business math, but you helped me through it.
So I get it. And math isn't always everybody's jam either. People just, you freeze up. I think we're taught from a young age that it's supposed to be hard. So, but everybody, I remember here did well. All right. So we are in customer relations management now, as per always. We'll just go through. Everybody should know these things, where to find instructor information, how to get a hold of me. I think everybody here has at least emailed me, before. I do not have that Google number on my phone right now. I need to get it put back in. I just got my phone back. I had to send it off for some warranty work, and I had a loaner. So I've been trying to get everything installed back on my phone. But easiest way is email. And if you have anything emergency, I'll try to keep an eye on it, but I should have that number set back up. So under instructor information, and also Hannah and Aubrey know where my office is at. And people should know better to call me when I'm at this time. So if you need to meet me on campus, I will always make time. I don't mind at all.
Your office is located in Christmas Candy Cane Lane right now.
Oh my gosh. Misty and Charmaine and all of them on that end, they just, it looks like the North Pole threw up all over the hall. So, but I go in and I just stick to myself these days. I don't want to get trapped in the whole Christmas spirit. Okay, well, quick poll to see, how much I really do like y'all. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Thank you. Okay.
I don't agree with that.
Well,
there's always the one.
Yeah, there is always just one person that has to be wrong.
Can we just give her an S? I'm just kidding.
Shut up.
There's no way she can pass this class now.
It is so sad because even the actor Bruce Willis says it's not a Christmas movie. Yes, it is.
You know what? But he had a head injury, so we can forgive him. He's not thinking straight. He got injured in a movie, so now his his brain doesn't work correctly anymore. Have you seen any of some of the latest movies he's done? It's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, I have.
So yeah, and I like me some Bruce Willis. So, well, let's go through what we normally go through here. The reason we're doing this tonight is because I also have an ITT class and a business math class, Sierra, and so I'm doing 3 classes. So I did this one tonight, and I've got the other 2 tomorrow night. And it was just kind of a flip of the coin of when I was going to do each one. I was going to do business math, my last class, on Tuesday, but the other 2 was just kind of flip a coin, and we got stuck on Mondays.
Yeah, Bob was telling me how you and him were splitting the business math class this time, and I was like, where was that when I took it?
Well, it's because I taught one a couple of months ago, and it was 30 people in one class by myself, and I know it was hard on you guys, and honestly, it was brutal on me because I had 30 people it was just an avalanche of questions every day. I was working every weekend. I'd get up in the morning and I say, okay, I'll go into WebAssign and I'll start answering questions. And there'd be like 25 questions, and I'd answer them all, and I'd refresh, and I'd go back, and there'd be like 25 more questions. And I was like, oh God, kill me now.
Headache Central.
So yeah, so 15, it was rough, Sherry. So they decided that 15 were just about all you can handle in that class. And then so we'd split it up, which is doesn't matter to anybody here, but the good thing is he'll be holding his business math class at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. I'll do mine at 8. And if people want to, they can make both the classes or one of them, and they all count.
Yeah,
So you
that's
have
what he
2
was
shots at it.
telling me. I was like, I'm thinking like that probably would have helped me a whole lot more when I took it, but we got through it.
And we're both fielding questions on WebAssign and filling in the grades and everything. So it should stay a little bit tight. Although I think he's going on vacation at some point next week, maybe. And he's still going to keep it on his email and stuff. I told him I would help keep things up. I think he's going to Atlanta. He's heading away from the cold weather. So, which is smart. So let's watch the video I always love to watch.
If you're a homeowner in Oklahoma and you're
Not
still
about homeowners in
paying for
Oklahoma. All right. I hate ads. Ads are terrible. So, I know I make everybody watch this every time. Like I said, number 1, I love Jordan Peterson. He's a really smart guy. Number 2 is this tells you why you have a hard time sitting down and getting stuff done. Doesn't give you any answers, because we know the answers are going to be, sort of individualized. Not everything works for everybody, but this gives you a good idea of why it's hard to get things done when you're trying to sit down and study. So I really like to play this for everybody at the beginning of every class. So I'm going to shut up and let him talk.
For example, is mediated by unconscious forces. And you know that perfectly well. And this is another Freudian observation. If you're sitting down to study, for example, your conscious intent is to study, but you know perfectly well that all sorts of distraction fantasies are going to enter the theater of your imagination non-stop and annoyingly, and there isn't really a lot you can do about that except maybe wait it out. So you'll be sitting there reading, and your attention will flicker away. You'll think about, I don't know, maybe you want to watch Jane the Virgin on Netflix or something like that, or maybe it's time to have a peanut butter sandwich, or you should get the dust bunnies out from underneath the bed, or it's time to go outside and have a cigarette, or maybe it's time for a cup of coffee, or it's like all these subsystems in you that would like something aren't very happy just to sit there while you read this thing that you're actually bored by, and so they pop up and try to take control of your perceptions and your actions non-stop. Maybe you think, well, this is a stupid course anyways, why do I have to read this damn paper, and what am I doing in university, and what's the point of life? It's like you can really get going if you're trying to avoid doing your homework, and then you might think, well, what is it in you that's trying to avoid? Because after all, you took the damn course and you told yourself to sit down. Why don't you listen? Well, because you're a mess. That's basically why. You haven't got control over yourself at all. And no more than I have control over this laptop. Okay, so there's the memory function of the unconscious, and there's the dissolutive function. That's an interesting one. The unconscious contains habits, once voluntary, now automatized, and dissociated elements of the personality, which may lead a parasitic existence. That's an interesting one. I would relate that more to procedural memory. You know, so what you've done is practice certain habits, whatever they might be. Let's call them bad habits. And you like those things to get under control, but you can't. So maybe when you're speaking, for example, you use like and you know, and you say a lot. And you've practiced that, so you're really good at it. And you'd like to stop it, but you don't get to, because you've built that little machine right into your being, right? It's neurologically wired, and it's not under conscious control. And anything you practice becomes that. It becomes part of you, and that's another element of the unconscious, a different part. And then there's a creative part, which is that, well, you know, you're sitting around and maybe you're trying to write something, or maybe you want to produce a piece of art or a piece of music, or maybe you're just laying in bed dreaming, and you have all these weird ideas, and especially in dreams, it's like, where do those things come from? And even more strange, one of the things that's really weird about dreams, and almost impossibly weird, is that you're an observer in the dream. It's like a dream is something that happens to you. Well, you're dreaming it, theoretically, so how is it that you can be an observer? It's almost like you're watching a video game or a movie, but you're producing it, at least in principle, although the psychoanalysts would say, well, no, not exactly. Your ego isn't producing it, your unconscious is producing it. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. And of course, Jung would say, well, it's deeper than that. The collective unconscious might be producing it. It's, in some sense, it isn't you exactly, or it isn't the you that you think of when you think of you. And that's the ego from the Freudian perspective, the you that you identify with. That's the ego. And outside of that is the unconscious. The id, that's more the place of impulses. And you could think about those as the biological subsystems that can derail your thinking, right? And that govern things like hunger and sex and aggression and your basic instincts is another way of putting it. And it's a reasonable way of thinking about it, because these are subsystems that you share with animals. You share them certainly with mammals. You share most of them with reptiles. You share a lot of them with amphibians, and even going all the way down to crustaceans. There's commonality, for example, in the dominance hierarchy circuits. And so these are very, very old things. And the idea that you're in control of them is, well, you're not exactly in control of them. And I would say the less integrated you are, the less you're in control of them, and the more they're in control of you. And that can get really out of hand, you know. You can be, like with people who have obsessive compulsive disorder, for example, which seems to be, I would say, the dissolutive elements in some sense of the unconscious, the way that it's portrayed here. Poor people with obsessive compulsive disorder, they can spend half their time doing things that they can't really control, and they have very strong impulses to do them, and it's very hard on them to block them. You know, they'll almost panic if those things are blocked. And then you have people with Tourette's syndrome, you know, that they'll be doing all sorts of weird dances and spouting off obscenities and imitating people without being able to control it, and sometimes a little bit of antipsychotic medication can dampen that down, but it's as if there are these autonomous semi-spirits inside of them that grip control over their behavior and make them do things. And you know, you find that to some degree in your own life, because maybe you've become very attracted to someone, even maybe you don't want to be attracted to the person, and then you find yourself, you know, texting them when you know perfectly well that you should be going to bed, and you know, you're in a grip of something, and you can't control it, and that's all part of the unconscious and all part of what Freud was studying.
So anyway, I know everyone has seen that before, but I always think it's just a really good insight into, you know, how hard it is to get things done. My suggestion is always, you know, if you go to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and you look at the bottom of that pyramid, you know, make sure you're not thirsty or hungry or any other stuff. He is. Oh yeah, seeing that, Hannah. He is one of the best speakers. His communication skills are unparalleled. He's now politically, he's a really divisive figure, so I don't play any of that stuff. But he really does do that. He also did a couple of interviews with Joe Rogan, if you're a Joe Rogan fan. And, but he, my suggestion is always, take care of some of those needs. Make sure you're awake and you're not thirsty and you're not hungry, and then find that environment that is comfortable for you. When we're in the drilling business, Kelly and I, we were two opposite people. We always made sure that our offices were separated by enough, because when we were working in the office, she was one of those people had to have complete quiet. So it just had to be silent in her office for her to get anything done. For me, if it's really quiet like that in my space, I always say it's the quiet is too loud for me. I need some sort of distraction of background music or a podcast or something that I'm not really paying attention to, but background noise. Otherwise, just way too quiet. I can't concentrate. So you have to find out, Hannah likes working in coffee shops. And see, that's actually, I think that would actually work for me as well. Like I said, if it's just too quiet, it's just, I can't concentrate. So, and it's really difficult to sit down and get things done because there's always more stuff. And also one of the things he says here is you say and too much. And the minute he says that, I'm always super self-conscious about how many times I say and in the next 5 minutes. Or so. I'm bad with so. Well, so this and so that. But anyway, just try to work your own method into getting things done, because everybody here knows real well that these classes go quick. 4 weeks is not very much time to jam all this information into a class, get all the work done. If you find yourself in a position where you get behind, it's like anything else you get behind on. Getting caught up is just terrible. Excuse me. Well, that's that. I'm also going to do, I said, again, I did, discussions. I am going to beat these to death. Nobody likes doing these. We have a full 4 weeks worth. Many of the classes I teach, we only do 3 weeks worth. There's one due every week. I always beg and plead that you do these because they are a huge part of your grade. They are worth 25% of your grade. So you're leaving 1/4 of your grade on the table if you avoid these. Nobody in a small class, only 7 people. It's also very important everybody gets them done and gets them done on time. The original post is due on Wednesday. The peer replies are due on Sunday. And the reason that is, if you get the peer, or if you get the original post done by Wednesday, that gives everybody the opportunity to look at which ones they want to reply to. With only 7 people here, we don't have a lot to choose from. The pool is really small. So I always beg people, please just do them on time. That means you get it over with in a timely fashion and everybody else can do theirs. And then we can do our peer replies without a whole lot of muss and fuss. And I just want everybody to get these done, and nobody's looking at you like, hey, whatever she said was dumb. No, nobody's doing that. Everybody is so self-conscious, especially when it's writing and they're putting it out there for other people to read. It would be a lot different if you were just writing something for me to read. People kind of have that expectation, but when you're putting it out there for everybody in class to read, people become really self-conscious. Always say, if you don't have Grammarly, get the free version of Grammarly, use it. It's a great tool. Always proofread, double check your spelling, grammar, punctuation as best you can. I'm not really hard on that. If people remember, I do look at that but I don't really hammer anybody. You would have to really, if you misspelled every word, use no punctuation, you would still only lose 5 points. I use, so do your best, but understand it's not going to kill you. So let's look at this first discussion. Maybe we can talk about it, maybe kick something off to help everybody out. Time check, 6:55. Oh my gosh, it's going slow. The consumer perception of grocery shopping is changing. Now, fresh and local are among the keywords, replacing organic as an indicator of the highest quality food experience. Fresh refers to a status or distinction where foods are where foods are in their most natural state. Currently, there is no single characteristic about food that triggers fresh perceptions in everyone. Marketers attempt to shape perceptions through the color of the packaging, product narratives, the appearance of minimal processing. Step one, take a trip to a local grocery store, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Walmart, Reese's. And we just opened up, well, we had one here in Okmulgee on the south side of town called Cox Cash Savers. And then they moved it to another location on 8th Street. And we were in there the other night and it was very nice and clean. So who did we lose? Aubrey. But travel down the various aisles, taking notes of the marketing attempts to make organic and or local products look fresh. You may find that there is an entire organic or local section, or perhaps the entire store is that way. Describe your experience for your classmates by answering these questions. Did you go to a grocery store required for this discussion? What store did you go to? Did you find organic local items in the special section, the whole store, and many of the aisles? What tipped you off to their organic or local affiliation? What efforts on the part of marketing did you notice in the packaging, color, size, price, etc., to indicate freshness? And lastly, do you think these efforts are effective in shaping customers' perceptions? Why or why not? You have not been, Sherry says they have not been over to the new Cox Cash Saver. It is, okay, so to date myself, I actually lived here in Okmulgee when they built that building on 8th Street, Sherry, when it was originally a Safeway back in the 70s. So that building has been there a long time, and it's been many different grocery stores since then. I will say that when I was in there the other day, I was very pleasantly surprised. All the equipment looked new. It was everything was clean. It was just something you don't see. I hate to say, you don't see in Okmulgee very often. In fact, I have a friend here in town. He would every once in a while he'll call me and he would have me take him to Reese's in Tulsa so he could, yeah, we don't get good and clean here in Okmulgee, and when we get it, it doesn't last. But hey, that's my whole other thing, which would be inappropriate to bring up in class. But Sherry, I am running for city council here in Okmulgee. So if you live here and you can vote, and you're in Ward 2, which are a lot of ifs, looking at you, kid. There you are. She's like, you like most people don't even know what ward you live in. I didn't even know where the lines were until I actually looked at the map. But Homeland, they are expensive. Groceries now. Oh, in Henrietta. See, I missed out. Homeland is expensive. But groceries these days are expensive. But if you want to touch on this, we know that just this year we've had a little bit over, I think it was 7.2% inflation. But inflation on groceries has been about 12%. So groceries have really went up. I know that when I went and bought 4 pounds of hamburger meat and everything to make chili, and I was going to do it and take it over to my daughter's house, and everybody's going to eat. My son was coming over, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, it was almost like $50 just to make chili. It was incredibly expensive. You know, when you're paying almost $7 a pound for hamburger, it was just, it's not like it was. Cause I remember, you know, you'd make chili and hamburger helper and things like that to feed your children. Cause it was cheap. But now nothing's cheap. And I think that puts a real stress on people's buying habits. And people would normally want to buy things that were, a lot of people are really into organic, and they would pay that little bit extra, but the little bit extra is almost unaffordable now. And I think, like I said, so does that affect how you buy? Does that have a place in this discussion on, normally I would buy free range organic eggs, but now I'm buying, you know, the cheapest I can find just because everything's so expensive. Does this marketing work under the current economic climate? And this will be a good one. So please do me a favor. Let's try to get this done. I keep saying it. I am going to try to do the discussions myself as well to help kick them off. It's been difficult trying to get into that. Looking at buying from local farms. We had a young lady we were buying eggs from. She works at OSUIT with my wife, and coyotes got to her chickens. So we lost our local egg hookup. Yep. So that's one of the hazards of having livestock, or, you know, other animals. Who was it? Just as an aside, who was telling me? One of the Julie Benson, one of the other instructors. She was telling me that she was complaining about the cold because she has a little bitty dog, and there are a lot of chicken hawks running around her area, so she can't let the dog out by herself for fear of the chicken hawk will take off with them. And so when it gets really cold, she doesn't want to go take the dog outside to go to the bathroom. All right, let's look. What else do we have here? Any questions, comments, concerns so far? Yep, I agree. That is horrible. Someone who grew up in the country with horses and chickens and all the other stuff, it's just part of those things you have to deal with. And no, a lot of that stuff is never, ever pleasant. Okay, so we also know you can always, this is my Facebook page just for CCC. Hannah said she hasn't seen some of this. Have I showed you the 21 tips for online courses, Hannah?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
remember it, at least, but it's been, I think the last class I had with you was like back in May or April or something like that.
I think everybody's seen this over and over and over again. And I'm not usually a big fan of these articles of, you know, like this 21 tips for online classes, but this is actually a pretty good article. Just go through it. And these are things you already know. It's just helps sometimes for people to put them in a list format so you can kind of remind yourself, oh yeah, I haven't been doing this, I haven't been doing that, I haven't been doing this. And so quiet space, eliminate distractions. We touch on things like that. Limit social media. Facebook is terrible when you're trying to study or do anything. See, I'm trying to think here. Take breaks. Breaks are productive. I've worked at places that of course, you were always allowed breaks, but it was almost, they were begrudging on your breaks because they felt like you were not being productive. Taking a break, taking a mid-morning break, taking a lunch break, taking a mid-afternoon break, those are actually very, very productive things to do. You cannot work like a machine or a robot. You can't do it at your job. You can't study. You can't do this for 8 hours straight without a break. It will cause all sorts of other issues. So yes, take your breaks. It will help you be more productive in the long run. Stay healthy. Okay, I know we're always limited, and I always tell people this. And I said something about, Calc 1, Calc 2, trig, all other stuff. The biggest one was Calc 2 because that one was rough. But the way I got through most of those classes is I made friends and joined study groups. 3, 4, 5 heads are always better than one. And sometimes just having somebody else around to bounce it off of will help clarify things. I don't think in this class it's not so big, but in other environments it doesn't hurt at all. Beat deadlines. Let's not run this to the very last minute if we can help it. I would appreciate it. There's always somebody who will, and who's trying to email me at 9:30 on Sunday night on week 4 looking for help. And that's if it's week 4 and it's 9:30 on Sunday night and you are desperate for my help, I think there's a lot of other things that have led up to that point. And many times, like last night, I was out of town this weekend, so I was driving, and I didn't get home till 10:30. So I was unable to actually answer any emails or do anything for all night until I got home. So don't wait long. Just try to beat these deadlines. So if you do need help, it's easier on everyone and less stressful on everyone. I like less stress on you guys, and also means less stress on me. And then reward yourself. Some people do it. And like I said, it depends on what's effective for other people or different people. I know some people who say, I'm going to read for an hour, or I'm going to do this for 30 minutes, and then I will reward myself with 10 minutes of Facebook, or I'm going to get up and go make myself a sandwich or whatever it is, but give myself some sort of reward for achieving that goal. Mine is always usually, I won't say project based, but I always have something I want to finish. I have a task. It's task based. I want to finish this task, and then I'll reward myself. So like this morning, I said, okay, I want to get everyone's business communications work from last term, make sure everything's graded. Okay, that's my first task. Once I get that done, then I can, go get a cup of coffee. The second thing, I want to make sure my attendance was done. That was a task I want to do before I could go, do something else. And so I always do it task-based. Some people do it time-based. There's more than one way to skin that cat. Just look for what works for you. All right. I think I have beat everything else up. Pay attention when the assignments are due, because it is kind of labor intensive, this class. It's not hard, but there's a lot of work. So it is 7:09. Let's see if we can get through some PowerPoints. And if you have me more than once, you know how much I don't like these PowerPoints, but how much I think they are really useful. So I will start the slideshow. Before we get on that, though, as usual, I'm going to ask any questions, concerns, anything that we want to talk about before we hop on something else. as he loses his chat. There we go. All right, I will take that as a no. All right. What is consumer behavior and why should I care? Lots of money is spent on evaluating how consumers behave. And it's gone to the next level over the last few years with targeted marketing based on what you look at on the internet. These big companies, they gather up all your data, and it is used to tailor YouTube ads, Facebook ads, suggestions on many things based on what you've been reading on Facebook, what you're looking on YouTube, what your search history looks like on Google. I'm of a split mind on that. I don't like the privacy issues that brings up, but at the same time, I don't mind having things tailored for me and my interests. And that's what we were missing for many, many, many years. I could not be less interested in CoverGirl commercials or ads, but really interested in something about golf. And so I don't have to suffer through as much one anymore, and I get more of the other. But like I said, there are some bad things that come to it. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to understand the meaning of consumption and consumer behavior, describe how competition for business leads to better outcomes for consumers, explain the role of consumer behavior in today's business and society, be familiar with basic approaches to studying consumer behavior, and recognize how trends, including technological evolutions like big data and machine learning, contribute to consumer behavior dynamism. Okay. Now this is based on, the economic system we have here, which is, basically capitalism. It will, and you'll look that how competition for business leads to better outcomes for consumers. When there is competition, there are improvements in the products, and the products become cheaper. So, and like I said, I'm an old guy. I remember getting our first microwave or our first VHS recorder player. And I remember, I think my dad, I want to say he paid somewhere up when we got our first VCR. I want to say he paid upwards of $1,000 for the thing. And nobody was allowed to touch it except for him, because this was an expensive piece of equipment. And as it became more popular, they become smaller, they become more efficient, they became more compact, and they became much, much, much cheaper. And then we moved from there to DVDs, to Blu-rays, into digital media. And all that started with the VCR, or maybe even the Betamax. If nobody remembers that, there was actually a war between VHS and Betamax, and VHS came out on top. There were two different products for a while. So when you went and bought one, if you bought the Betamax, you bought into the losing team. I don't know how good of an icebreaker this would be, because there's only 4 of us in here. But just as a quick poll, and I know this is right before Christmas, so this is really unfair. How many times this past week have you been a consumer? For me, it's been every day. It's too close to Christmas, and I think most people are like that.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, we couldn't go someplace this weekend without probably buying something for someone. And lately we've been looking for gifts that are not the norm. Yep. Sherry's like almost every day. I was even, anybody ever go to the Petro truck stop in Joplin? Giant truck stop they have there? I bought my son a wooden puzzle box, a little storage thing shaped like a penguin. You know, so we're looking everywhere for things we wouldn't normally find that we thought, you know, people would enjoy. And he's crazy about penguins. Bucky's. I love Bucky's so much. If you don't love Bucky's, you're just not human. No, I'm not wearing my Bucky's t-shirt. I'm wearing a blue t-shirt, but not my Bucky's.
What is Bucky's?
Okay, doggone it. Sarah, you got me here. All right. Bucky's is heaven. Let's see if we have a Bucky's, home Bucky's. Bucky's are these giant gas stations that have everything that anyone could ever want. And Bucky's has a big beaver as a okay, so if you go into a Bucky's, I can make this a little bit bigger. This is what you see. Everything. Ooh, jerky. Oh.
I have
What a
never
great-
seen one of these in my entire life.
You are missing out on all the finer things in the world. And is there okay, Texas and Louisiana is
Is that what
usually
it's
where
rated?
Sherry says the best place in the world, if we could have them in Oklahoma, QT would be put out of business. I absolutely believe that is 100% the truth. So yeah, Bucky's is pretty great. So if you ever drive by, don't drive by a Bucky's. You have to go in and spend the time in there. I feel it sound like, you know, I'm shilling for Bucky's, and I kind of am, but it's pretty great. And of course, when I do that, it changes everything on my screen. If anybody has one of the satirical sites they have is called the Babylon Bee. And of course, very political, but they did a little 6-part series of when Californians moved to Texas and kind of, you know, exaggeration of the culture shock. And one of the episodes is the Californians discovered Bucky's. It is hilarious because I think it's how everybody feels when they go to one. So Babylon Bee, Californians moved to Texas. 12 minutes. Let's see what we can get done in 12 minutes. Consumption and consumer behavior. 2 unique perspectives regarding consumer behavior: the actual human thoughts, feelings, and actions involved in consumption experiences, and then we have a field of study that is developing an accumulated body of knowledge about human consumption experiences. Now, there's a reason why your grocery store is set up the way it is. And I don't know who's noticed and who hasn't. If you notice, the adult cereals are up higher and the children's cereals are down lower. All the sugary cereals are down at children's eye level. And there is a reason for that. They want those kids begging for, gosh, I don't know what a good sugary cereal is now anymore. I'll go with Count Chocula. Actually, Boo Berry, because I only get that during Halloween time. And so they want the kid looking at the Cocoa Puffs or whatever, and they want the kids seeing that, and they want the adults having that. The placement of products in a store, if you ever notice, milk, eggs, bread, they like to put that stuff towards the back of the store. That way you are exposed to more on your way up and back when you go get to necessities. You're not going to go to the front of the store and buy a gallon of milk. That is always going to be somewhere where you have to walk through just about the entire store. So your basic needs, the things you're going to buy on a normal basis, are going to be placed. And the same thing with when you go to the registers. That's why the candy bars are there. So consumer behavior is a set of value-seeking activities that takes place as people go about addressing their real needs. To fill a need, a process kicks in involving multiple psychological events, including thinking, feeling, and behaving, and the entire process culminates in value. Feeling is where marketing is really going to try to hit you. Okay, they want it to hit you in the feelings. If you're thinking too hard about it, many times you're not going to purchase, and your behavior is going to change. I've been working on that with me for a while. When I go to Walmart and I see something, and I think, okay, do I really need that? Is that a thing I need to purchase right now? And many times the answer is no, and I still buy it because I want it, because I have a feeling about it. Now, and I've been having this fight with myself about a PS5 for a while. And I am slowly losing that fight with myself. So eventually I will end up with one. Well, if you notice, Jordan Peterson, you have all these little autonomous things working in the background. You know, these little pieces of your personality that lead to what they call a parasitic existence. They exert a lot of control. You know, because he said, one of the things he said, why? Because you're a mess. You are. Hannah's a mess. Sherry's a mess. I'm a mess. Sierra's a mess. We're all a mess. And we who agreed really quickly. The Sierra. Because we're not really in control of ourselves. We are to a point, but there are things that take over. Like, I always go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs: hunger, food, need for shelter, need for, water, the need for, security. Those things that have to be taken care of first, and that will control our behavior. Now, and if you don't think I'm right, have you ever been hangry? Because hangry is mean. And many times I will point out to my wife, I said, sweetie, I think you're just hangry. And she'll, yeah, you're probably right. I said, let's just go get something. Let's just go get something right now, because you're miserable and you're making me miserable, and it's really tough. Let's just pull over and get the number 7, the 2 cheeseburger meal with an extra drink, and we'll share it. We'll knock the edge off that hunger. So, we're not looking to have a shootout at high noon in the middle of Main Street. Be too hot, be too cold, be all these things. It's really, really hard to control. So once again, we're not always in control of ourselves. Because the basic process: 1, a specific desire representing a way a consumer may go about addressing a recognized need. Exchange, the acting out of the decision to give something up in return for something perceived to be of greater value. Costs are the negative results of consumption experiences. The benefits are the positive results of consumption experiences. Buyer's remorse. That is the like Sherry said, no, her grandma gave her the best advice: never argue with anyone that is hungry, tired, hurt, or drunk. That is actually very sound advice.
I'm putting that on a plaque and putting it on my wall.
You know what? I think we should, because that is words to live by. Okay, so the basic consumption process, and it just goes in a great big circle of between value, need, want, exchange, cost, benefits, and reaction. Want, need are often two different things. I really, really want that PS5, but I don't need it because I really, really want to play Gotham Knights because I love the Batman games, but I don't need it. My PS4 is fine. There's nothing wrong with it, and I have plenty of games. Plus, last year my wife bought me an Oculus, so I do still have that. Okay, consumption and consumer. Are we about over? Oh, I had it, Hannah. I will bring it by. I think it's still in my car because I had it with the trip. If you've never played Beat Saber, once again, it's like never going to Buc-ee's. You just haven't lived. Let's see where are we at here. Oops. You know what? I think I have done all the damage I can do. It is 7:26. Open it up. Does anybody else have anything to say? Anything to add? Any questions, concerns, anything I can help with? Because you know that in the end, that is why I'm here, is to facilitate for you guys. We have very limited time together, 1 hour a week. I have to, we have to find some other ways for me to facilitate any needs you may have. And especially for y'all, Hannah and Aubrey and Sherry and Sierra, who are getting really, really close to being done. I'd like to see everyone finish strong because the last couple of classes are going to really be brutal. Not because they're going to be so hard. It's just that the expectation of being done causes a change in your thought process. So there is that. So anybody have anything? Senioritis, that is exactly what that is. If not, I am going to end the recording, which, as we know, is the official end of class.